Hello and welcome back to X-Carbovore. I'm your host, Kian Aniyam, and I'm excited that you've come back. Hey, if you have been here a few times, it would be awesome for me if you would hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to build an audience, and there are many things that we're going to be doing in the future on this channel. I say many, I'm only really thinking of one, outside of showing my numbers and my results for the carnivore diet. I'm exploring a little. Uh, Many of you might know that I'm a full-time pastor, and I do this content for the carnivore community to let people know kind of what the carnivore diet is all about. And I've run into many people not understanding how you can just eat meat and live. Well, today I want to speak to you about my reasons and about some of the diets, I use that word loosely, that I've tried in the past and why I've chosen carnivore. Let's talk more about that on the inside. So today we're going to change our format a little bit. This is episode 8. We are still doing the Carnivore Challenge, or the Carnivore KIP 180-day Carnivore Challenge. This is day 8 of that. Now, let's talk about how we count these days. We started on January 1. I started at midnight, New Year's, and I counted it, not that we've completed a day, but that this was day 1. Of course, the 24-hour clock had not yet struck, but that was day 1. On the next day, which you could say that we've done day 1, that's day 2. So I was looking at my brother's counting on day 7. He said this was day 6, and I had to do the math and try to figure out how it was counting. So I guess you could count it any way you like, just as long as you know where you are. I was kidding with my daughter the other day. My son got a new scale, and my scale and his scale was about a half a kilo different. And she says, "Dad, your scale is saying that you're half a kilo lighter than my son's scale." And I said, "Well, it doesn't matter to me. I don't weigh on his scale. I weigh every day on my own scale." And I think that that's the point. I weigh on my own scale. And I think for you, if you have your regular way of weighing, your regular way of doing things, then stick with it and let it be. I mean, I can trust my scale. I've had the scale for a little while now, and I'm always on the same scale. Now, and if you're flip-flopping from one scale to the other, then no, it's not a reliable source of measurement for you. But if you're on the same scale every day and you're measuring, awesome. I think that's great. Now, let me talk a little bit about why I am doing carnivore as opposed to other diets. We, in the past, I say we, my family, but mostly me, as I gained weight, I looked for other ways to lose weight. And even in my military days, when I was fighting Taekwondo, is ranked pretty good in the PKL, AKL bracket, I should say, ranked number 10, top 10 in the division, that Northeast division in the US. But my doctor in the Navy gave me a diet, and it was to help me stay in my weight class. And that diet consists of meats, seafood, so all meats, but he allowed me to have leafy green vegetables and tomatoes. And of course I could drink diet sodas because he was being generous. And I could still have my coffee, but no sugars, nothing else outside of that. So that pretty much says it. And I did this diet, and it worked fantastic for me, especially for me managing my weight before weigh-ins and things like that. And everything was great. I lived by that diet many times because as I got heavier, as I got older, that's what I did. I ran back to that diet, and that's what was going on. Now, and after I left the military and I studied medicine in the military, I ended up working in the medical industry. I spent a few months in Anne Arundel Hospital in Annapolis, Maryland, helping run the cardiac cath lab there. But then I went into the medical industry and I worked for medical companies teaching medicine around the world. That was my job. I was a global training manager eventually, and I went from teaching cardiology, electrophysiology, even robotic surgery at different companies in different times. I was studying medicine from 1984, and I stopped. I let my license go in 2008, I should say. Well, when I went into the medical field, I had a friend of mine who used to be heavy set, and he came and he was quite light. And I said, "Hey man, what are you doing? I mean, you're looking great." And he says, "Oh, there's this diet called Atkins, and it's really, really great. There's a book, and you read it." And I was like, "A book?" I mean, in those days, I only liked reading about things that I was deeply interested in. I'm interested in dogs. I read about dogs. I'm interested in medicine. I read about a specific technique. But diet book? I mean, okay, well, took the book, read it, and I could see why he was able to lose. And this was low carb, high fat, and medium protein. And it worked well. And I stuck with it for a little while. I did it, but then I didn't do it anymore. And in 2018, I went back to the US, and at my grandmother's funeral, my uncle looked at me and says, "Hey, you're a lot bigger than you were before." Now, the one thing you don't have to do is tell a fat person they're fat. I think we're the first people to know when we've gained a little bit of weight. So I took that kind of tough, and I went home. I studied a lot. What can I do? Which diet can I look at, and what's comfortable for me? And so I started the Atkins diet in 2018 on the real side, and it worked great for me. I wanted to know, how can I do this diet when I came back home to Sweden? Because you don't want to start something when you come back home and you can't continue it. So I studied online what's available here in Sweden for me as an Atkins guy to do. And I couldn't find anything for Atkins here in Sweden. There's a few groups, but they don't have the ready-made foods. They don't have the desserts and all of those things. So I ended up trying to figure out, how can I go from to do something myself. So as I'm doing this research, I come across this keto diet, and it was quite similar to the Atkins diet. It was quite similar. I mean, but you can do all the foods yourself. You didn't have to have packaged foods. Now they're packaging a lot of things. I think a lot of vendors try to benefit off of the diets, whichever way people are starting to go into. They try to make money off of it. So there's a lot of packaged foods now for the keto diet. But that was my problem. The keto diet was beautiful for me. I mean, I went from 106 kilograms down to 82 kilograms. And that was, I don't know, maybe 7 months period of time. And I was looking quite fit. I was not, I didn't have a six pack or anything like that, but I looked quite fit. The only problem I have with the keto diet was I was always craving always wanted something sweet. Ketogenic diets allow up to 20, depends on who you talk to, 20 to 50 net carbs. And I was doing 20 carbs, 20 net carbs and below. I kept falling below because I tried to regulate how much sweets I would take in. But as you can tell by the name of this channel, X-Carbovore, I'm a carboholic. So I like my sweets. And I did count. I don't know that I counted the carbs in my veggies because there are some carbs in the veggies. So I can't honestly say that. I don't remember counting my carbs in my veggies. But I think I left it because I craved too much. And then you have these keto treats, fat bombs and all of this that were just artificial sweeteners. It was great. I could make scones that were, zero carbs. I mean, I made my own keto bread. I mean, I was doing fantastic things in the keto world, but it wasn't helping me. I mean, talk a plateau. They're talking 2-3 months sometimes in your weight loss, which back then, that's what I was doing it for. My son actually mentioned one day, Dad, have you heard about the carnivore diet? And I said, what's a carnivore diet? And he said, well, you just eat meat. I think you could imagine, especially if you're new to carnivore, most of us have probably heard that. My reaction was that way. My reaction was like, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, that's nuts. And for his sake, I did research to study because I wanted to make sure he was doing something that was safe. I didn't want him to do something that was going to damage him or hurt him. And by me watching him, I got excited. I said, "Wow, this information is really interesting. This might be something that I too might join in on one day." And I actually started recommending the diet for people that had certain ailments, gout and high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes. I started helping and talking to people about it. And they'd stay on for a while until their symptoms subsided, and then they go back to eating their regular way. Well, the thing is, when you do that, the old things come back as well. So if you go back, it comes back. And I think some people can't see themselves not eating the pies and not eating the carbohydrates, whatever bread or pasta or whatever you love, the pizzas, the things that you love, the things that you grew up with. I mean, all of our celebratory times, our holidays are built around food. And this isn't, it's real hard to take that away from someone, especially if you've grown up in a specific way. So I turned to carnivore on the serious side when I was diagnosed with some medical issues, and we thought was cancer, and the doctors thought it was cancer as well. And I have some tumors inside, and we did a career change actually based on it. We found this out while we were working in Italy, and we decided to come back again to Sweden so I could be prepared for treatment. The biopsies, it took quite some time before the biopsies came back. And when they came back, we were relieved to find that they were benign, but all the medications that they gave me would not subside the pain. And then I thought, why not try carnivore seriously? The diagnosis came in 2023, October, November, October, September, October. And we were back home to Sweden by December. I found the results in February I believe, of 2024. And I started carnivore, though, in January of 2024. And I did fine. And the reason why I did it was to take the pain away. And I found that when I ate a carnivore diet, and it wasn't strict. I won't say it was strict back then. And what I mean by not strict, I still use zero carb sauces or zero net carb. So I would take like a hot sauce that might have 0.9 grams of carbs, but it would have 2.7 grams of fiber. And I said, oh, that's zero, because you could subtract your fiber, you could subtract sugar alcohols from your carbohydrates. And if it comes out that it's negative, then you can have it under the ketogenic way of eating. And this was what I did. I found mayo that was zero carb, and I would use that mayo and hot sauce and make my little sauce myself. So, and I think it's important still for any diet that you try that you're able to sustain a certain lifestyle, that you're able to do it for long term. And so I tried to adapt to the long-term way of life. And I mean, for example, I still had coffee last year. I don't take coffee now. Now, no diet sodas, no coffee, just water. And no, I was going to say no processed foods, but we're going to talk about that in just a few moments. But I've reduced the processed foods. I eat food that looks like the animal it came from. And I think that was the key difference of this year versus last year. Did my pain subside? Absolutely. And I didn't have to keep taking the medication because the medication wasn't working anyway. Not only did it subside, but the tumors, I don't just have stomach tumors, I have tumors in my pectoral muscle and one in my right thigh. They're also benign. The pectoral muscles have not been biopsied because they started to see that me changing my diet caused a reduction in them. So they didn't worry about them. The right one is totally gone. The left one is almost the size of the right one before. When I first found out, the thigh is reducing. It was the size of I would say, a golf ball. Now it's maybe half the size of that golf ball. And it's very soft now. It was a lot harder before. So I think that this is really happening. But absolutely, I had 2 areas of my stomach that used to cause me pain. Now, if I feel anything, just like a nudge, not pain at all, it would be only in one area. So I believe that everything is working out for the good. And I have to continue to trust God. I mean, our goal and our journey is to be here. I mean, what good is it that I leave my family, I leave my church? There are people that love me here, and I want to be around for them and be able to show them that I love and care for them. So if I love them, I need to take care of myself so that I could be here for them. And that's really what I'm doing. I'm just trying to be here as long as I can. I have a grandmother currently. This year, she's going to be 102, and she's not a carnivore. And I'm thinking, wow, imagine if I change and live a carnivore life. And see, somebody's saying, I wouldn't want to be here at 102. Listen, my grandma still lives alone. She doesn't drive herself anymore because she ran herself over with her own car. That's another story for another day. But she lives alone and she cooks for herself and she still gets around. She's a beautiful lady with a beautiful heart, beautiful soul. So that's my story. That's my why for carnivore. I have no cravings, by the way, on carnivore. None whatsoever. After like the first 5 days, or even the first 3 days, I think all that stuff goes out the window. And I don't crave anything. I won't say I have any cravings whatsoever. Now, if you talk to me and we're talking about a nice fatty steak, my mouth will start watering. because I think that's the most delicious. I guess the Pavlov effect. It's like one of the most delicious things for me right now. Or you could talk about lechon koale, and I would just go whoa, whoa, whoa. You might see drool coming down here, but it's not craving. It's just an effect that I have. Um, I eat maybe once a day, sometimes twice, and I'll call it twice because I mean I might have some boiled eggs here, and then later I might eat my real meal, if you want to call that twice. Drinking water is not a problem for me. I have hot water. I have sometimes water with butter because I like the way that tastes. Maybe it's not for everyone, but it's delicious for me. Hot coffee with hot butter, unsalted, is one of the most delicious drinks I ever imagined. And I guess I got that from when I used to do the bulletproof coffee when I was a keto guy. The bulletproof coffee where you put your butter, your MCT oil, and maybe your heavy whipping cream inside of your coffee, and I had the right measurements every time. You know, my wife would make it for me. She'd make one for herself. She was like, "Honey, what's the measurements?" And you know, I used a special 25, 25, 25. It was just that simple. And I'm just reminiscing now. No more coffee for me. Just hot water and hot butter, and it's delicious. I use 50 grams of unsalted butter. And it depends. Sometimes it's 25 grams, depending on how much. It tastes, to me, it tastes like buttered popcorn. When I first started doing it, now it just tastes great. I mean, I don't equate it to any sort of other flavor. It's just something that I do just to feel really good. It's like, I guess it's like people enjoy their coffee. I enjoy my hot water with butter. I also can take, and I'll call it bubble water, for lack of a better term. I have Fritz an der Vatten. If you're talking, I say Fritz an der Vatten. That's really a strange way. That's an Italian word and a Swedish word together. Kolsyra is Swedish. Fritz an der l'acqua. I guess that would be the Italian way of saying it. We have a drink called Lecca here, which is a bubble water that's really, really good. But I would have something like that. But nowadays, right now, my water machine has lost its carbonation. I ran out of my carbonated water is the English word. That very good, carbonated water. And I don't put any flavoring in it, but my carbon tanks should be here. They were supposed to be here yesterday. I ordered 6 of them. They last for the whole year. So each tank lasts for about 2 months. And it takes me the whole year. And I think I won't say I'm addicted to that, but it takes away that need for a soda, you know, and it's really good. So that's what I do. I'm thriving on this thing like crazy. I don't know if there's any better way of living. And someone would say, Kian, but don't you need veggies and don't you need this? No, there's so much nutrition found in what I'm eating. I eat meat, and that means any living animal, pork, cow, deer, fish, including, all the crustaceans. And I use salt, and I shouldn't just say meat. I like fatty meat. You can have chicken, but I don't take chicken every day because there's not enough fat in it for me. Fatty meats. And see, this is what we've been taught not to do, which I'm saying this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. I eat fatty meats, salt, and water. That's it. I love my salmon, fish. I love my sardines. You're getting your good omega-3 fats out of that. There's so much nutrition. The hardest one for a carnivore to get is vitamin C, and the body actually, you can get it, but it's very little, but the body doesn't need it like it does when you're eating carbohydrates. And that's something that they're just starting to look at and just starting to do some studies with. But a lot of information is going to come out about this thing. I think that we're in the foreground, we're in the front right now still of the carnivore life, the carnivore living. So why don't we talk about my numbers which are going to be kind of controversial today, especially since my birthday was yesterday. Let's go to it. All right, so let's get right into it with my blood pressure for today. Now, yesterday I had, for the first time this year, a salami and cheese. That was my birthday yesterday. Now, my salami was only 0.5 per 100, and they were sliced really nicely. It had pepper on the edge. And the cheese was a zero carb cheese. It's the first cheese. I've had that cheese once or twice, but not the salami. And only ate half the stack, and it was very very low in carbs or anything. The reason why I'm telling you this is because my blood pressure went berserk. As you can see, 134/84. And this is why they also call the carnivore diet an elimination diet. You're eating meats, drinking water, eating salt. And if you add something else in and there's a change, then you know that this affects you oddly. And so I say this 134/84, since my blood pressure has been readily decreasing every day, I would say this had a direct effect from the food that I was eating yesterday. So now, and salami is a little processed, and I normally eat food that looks like the food I'm trying to eat. So chicken looks like chicken, steak looks like a part of the cow. My bad. Won't happen again. Next, let's look at our glucose. I just moved right past that because there's nothing more needs to be said. I'm not happy about it, and but it's one day, you live and learn, and you move on. My glucose yesterday was 4.9, and we hit the trifecta, 4s, 3 days in a row. And today, I'm glad to say, we did it again, 4.9. So even though I ate a little bit, I say off because my blood pressure reacted, but my glucose stayed in that 4.9 range, 4.9, 4.8. And I can't complain. And this is why I take multiple parameters. If I was just looking at my blood pressure, I'd be a little bit concerned, wondering what did I really do? But I didn't do much damage. And I don't think that it affected me the way that I mean, the heaviness, but yes, in the bad way for my blood pressure to react that way, it did affect me. So I do have to take it seriously. And this is why I kind of like taking my measurements every day. I know everyone's not able to do that, but for me, it's an important part of my journey. And I also like to document it because I plan to see my doctor early this year. Hopefully I could talk her to taking me officially off the medicine since I've been off since May. Let's look at my ketones. My ketones have been not bad, I should say. I hit the 2 range, and I want to be 2 and above. I think last I was 2.7, and now today I can't brag. I thought I'd be in the 3 probably range, but I think the food effect once again affected me, and I'm down to 2.1. I'm still in the 2 range. I'm still good, but 2.1. So there was some sort of effect, I believe, with the food I ate. And I don't personally believe, I look at every ingredient of a food that's foreign to me, and this food was not foreign to me. Maybe the cheese was, but I knew that it had 0 carb. And it was a small piece. It wasn't like I ate a whole triangle of cheese. No, it was just a small piece that I cut in maybe 3 or 4 slices, and I wrapped a little salami around it, and now we see. But 2.1 is not bad. I'm just being a little nitpicky because I like to be deep in ketosis. All right, let's go now to the GKI. And the exciting thing about the GKI, once again, we all understand the GKI means glucose ketone index. And the glucose ketone index is a combination of the sugar ketone interaction within your body. And for me, I like to keep it in the 3 range and below because that's where my therapeutic level is for my medical illnesses. is going to benefit me the best. So 3 down, whatever below 3 that we can get. So today my GKI was 2.3 and I'm still in the zone, which is great. Yesterday I was 1.8, which was better, but I'm not complaining. I just want to stay below the 3, and we accomplished that. Great job. Next, let's take a look at my least favorite subject. And I say that because most people, when they get on here, they're talking about their weight. And for me, it's much more, it's much deeper than just weight. My weight today was 89.4. I went up 0.2. And it did say 89.3, then it went 89.4. So I took the highest one. I believe that this means that I'm probably at a plateau, but it could be, and don't forget, I've been losing so much every day. You knew it would stop eventually. The party's over, turn off the lights, or turn out the lights, the party's over. Well, anyway, we probably hit the reality of everything. Then it'll kind of mellow out, give my body a chance to, fill itself and make sure everything else is well. And while we're in the plateau stage, your body is actually doing a lot of healing on the inside. So not a bad thing. Right. So that's it for today. I want to thank you for coming by and checking out, or should I say checking in with me and seeing how I'm doing and how my numbers are, especially after the big festive event that I had yesterday. You can see that I kept myself in control. No, really, I love celebrating birthdays with family, and I don't try to make it a big thing. So we had no cake. We had a lot of steak, and that was good. And I was able to see my children and speak to my children in the US, which meant so much to me. So listen, if you enjoy what you're seeing and you enjoy this kind of content, please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell a friend that there's a guy like me doing a thing like this. We'll see you tomorrow.